Hey Chris. So I finished my testing day, and right off the bat, I gotta tell you, it went really well. I had a lot of fun. So very first thing, 475 squat, 280 bench, and 485 deadlift. I was really happy with these numbers. It was a huge total PR, huge squat PR, huge bench PR. Not quite a deadlift PR. I've pulled 500 in the past, but um, those were never on meet days or at a meet or anything like that. Those were when I was going into the deadlift fresh. So I feel like if I did the same thing, I would have had a PR there as well. But in any case, it went really well. I thought so. I was happy about that. So I just want to go over how the day went and the days leading up to it and everything like that. Just talk a little bit about that. So first, so my feelings going into the day, how I felt mentally and physically. The days beforehand, I could have I could have had some better sleep, and I could have been more focused on the task at hand. But I didn't do terribly in that regard either. It would have helped a little bit, but not too bad. I was getting like 7 hours of sleep on average. Would have preferred closer to 8 or 9, at least for the 2 or 3 days beforehand. But so going into it, I I was excited, but not as excited as I should have been, not as energetic as I should have been, but none of this really held me back too much. Once I got started and everything, I was like, you know what, this is cool. I'm having fun and I'm excited about this. Um, so of course I wanted to make it as much like a meet as possible, so I did all my lifts in the same day. I chose my half day at work to do this, and then I skipped class to make sure it would go as well as possible. So I spent like 5 or 6 hours at the gym just kind of hanging out and doing my lifts here as I wanted to, taking some long rest times and all this. So what I did was I packed the extra food at work so that I would have a lot of food in my belly before I went into it. I had basically an extra meal, so within 4 hours I ate like 3 meals, and then I went to the gym. I wasn't feeling like super full or anything when I got there, so that wasn't like a big deal. I was just feeling like good that I ate as much food as I could to sort of give myself energy. Um, and throughout the day, I would eat. I would eat snacks and pizza and stuff like this in between lifts. But not a lot, just like a little bit, so I wouldn't feel like super full or whatever. I stayed as hydrated as I could. So I mean, I drank a bunch of water. I ate like two pieces of pizza. I had a big protein shake. I had um, two Cliff Bars. I think that was it actually. But beforehand, I ate a bunch of food before even stepping foot into the gym. So maybe I could have brought more pizza. Honestly, I think that would have been better. But I wasn't like super hungry or anything, so I think that was all right. Could have done a little bit better, um, food-wise, but it wasn't bad. Um, and the way I tried to make it as much like a meet as I could, so I would rest like 10 minutes in between attempts, and between squat and bench, I didn't really spend too much time resting, but between bench and deadlift, I spent a good 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes, just kind of sitting there and recuperating and eating some food. So in that regard, I'd say I did an all right job at making it like a meet. Um, so attempt selection. This is the part where I did probably the worst. I was a lot stronger than I thought I was gonna be. So I had pretty conservative openers, like really conservative, like a 445 squat. So I would just go up 10 pounds each attempt on all my lifts until I really hit a wall, and then would maybe go up another 5 pounds. So in doing so, I think it was like 4 or 5 attempts on each lift, which I know is not what happens at a meet, but I just didn't want to say, okay, third attempt I'm done, even though I had a buttload more in the tank. So I think squat was 4 attempts. I hit 465 on my third attempt, and I was like, that was too easy, going up another 10 pounds. And then I hit that 475, and I felt like I maybe had another 5 pounds in me, but I didn't want to do five really heavy singles at the very beginning of my day, especially not to etch out, 5 extra pounds. So I thought I would just leave it at 475, move on to bench. Bench I think was 5 attempts because I really thought 275 was going to be my limit, but it went well enough that I decided it was worth the extra 5 pounds, because 5 pounds, at least to me, means more on bench than it does on squat. So I went for that and I hit it. So I was happy about that. Deadlift, I was much more aggressive because of how the day was turning out, and I had 3 real attempts, and I failed my 4th attempt without even really breaking the floor, because uh, it was just like, I thought, it's the end of the day, I might as well give it another attempt, even though I knew really it wasn't going to happen. Um, so, with all that in mind about how I went about the day, my attempt selection, how well rested I was going into this, and everything like that, I'd say I could have at least gotten 5 extra pounds out of my squat. If I had to redo this, essentially, go back 4 days prior to the day, and redo everything from that point on, I would say, I would sleep more, which I would get a lot more sleep. I would eat better. I was eating kind of crappy up to that point. Just not necessarily like low food, but just not food that's really the best for efficient functioning. Lots of garbage basically. But so if I was more well rested, more slight, all this is fairly slight because I didn't do horribly at any of these things. But if I was more well rested, a little bit more energetic and motivated, if I had better attempt selection, um, and maybe if I ate a little bit more during the day of and took a little bit more time in between lifts, maybe not attempts, but between lifts, then I feel like on squat I could have had 5-10 pounds more. Bench maybe 5 pounds more, but probably not. In deadlift I could have probably pulled at least 10 pounds more, maybe 15, since that was most affected by all of these factors, since of course it's at the end of the day. But overall, man, I was really excited. Those were like huge PRs for me on squat and bench, and it was just a fun day for me. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much everything I have to say about testing day. I have to admit, I've been pretty lax on my diet going up to in the last like at least week. I've either been eating too little or too much, and I haven't really been tracking what I've been doing, but um, I've also been forgetting to weigh myself like every other morning, and then subsequently on forgetting to write down what it was on the days that I do weigh myself. But I'm kind of heavy now. I'm like 184, 185, something like that. Not great, but in my opinion, at least not ready to start dieting yet, since I don't have a meet that I intend to do anytime soon. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, pretty excited to get started with some new stuff, and really after whenever I test again, I'm really excited to see how that'll go. Feel like I'll hit a 500-pound squat. I don't know, maybe, hopefully. Um, yeah, I think that's it, Chris. I have my lifts coming up after this. I'll put them on the same video. So the video is gonna look a lot longer than it, I guess, needs to be, because the lifts come after this instead of me talking over the lifts like usual. But that's it.
This is nice and late. But, 10, right? But, what up? Put it back a little bit. The back of it. Actually, not dry. Oh,
down ready.
Real life liftoff, just help me out. I don't want to do it.
Come. Alright, 3 more.
And then after that, just stand back and make sure I don't
Stop it
die.
up. Down under control. Okay, last one. Ready? 30.
Whenever I
9,
take a big breath, this
7, 5, 3, 2, 1, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8. No, unacceptable. Go. 15, 14, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, acceptable. All right, over here. Hustle.
just be looked up, right?
That's it? What you talking about? That's a 25 pound. What you talking about? Put the tail back on. Alright, Nikolai. Nikolai has no fun. A 4 is a page. Right. We'll play on words. And the what? You say that guy's a bore. Okay. It means he's lame. He's lame. Okay. Oh, okay, I see what you're trying to get at. Did you hear about Pirate and Circus? It was intense. You know it's comedy hours. You know it's comedy hours. Why couldn't those kids see the Pirate movie? Why didn't they get the cards? Why not me? You can use those when you go home. Show them to your wife.